Hi everyone! Are you tired of earning next to nothing on your money sitting in savings accounts? I'm Sandra Park and I'm a financial coach for women in STEM. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about something that I'm asked a lot about. I get asked about high yield savings accounts. What are they? They are also abbreviated by the acronym HYSA. And I'm asked by many women, should I open one up and what are they for? Before we get into that, I don't want to give a particular recommendation for a certain high yield savings account because what I find is they have different promotional offers. Rates do change on bank accounts from time to time. And instead of doing this effort to keep chasing rates and moving money around between high yield savings accounts, I look for certain criteria in the high yield savings accounts that I'm going to pick. But first, let's get into what is a high yield savings account. As the name suggests, it's a savings account that can get much more interest, potentially 10 to 20 times more interest than a traditional savings account. Your traditional savings account at a bank might get you 0.01% interest. I just did a very cursory internet search before I did this video. Right now, high yield savings accounts are around 4%, and that's pretty good. So you're thinking, what is the catch? Well, number one is that rate is not guaranteed. Those rates can fluctuate. They are unusually high right now, but you cannot count on them remaining around 4% all the time. You definitely should take advantage of it if you can. This means that your money will work much harder for you while it's sitting safely in a bank account. But before you open one up, these are some reasons why you might want to open one up. There are three main reasons why I think you should open up a high yield savings account. One of them is for your fully funded emergency fund. I like to advise having 3 to 6 months of living expenses set aside in a bank account that is liquid and accessible for only emergency use. A high yield savings account is a great place to be holding this money, and it's earning a little bit of money until you actually need to use some of it, and then of course you would replenish your fully funded emergency fund should you need to dip into it for an emergency. Another reason to have a high yield savings account is for some of your short-term money goals. A typical one is a house down payment. When people are searching for houses, they usually have a short time frame where they're saving up for a down payment. It could be a long time frame, but when people are in a house search, they typically plan to buy a house within a year or so. That money should probably not be invested because the time frame is too short. Imagine you invested $100,000 for a house down payment, and then when it came to closing time, which you may not control because you find this house you like and now you're in contract and you're about to close on it, now that account, because of market returns, is dipped down to about $80,000, and that was supposed to be your house down payment, closing costs, moving costs. Maybe you're going to buy some furniture or appliances. You really want to not have that money invested, and a house down payment or any other short-term goal, probably within less than 2 years, maybe even up to 5 years, is an ideal place to have some of this money set aside. A third use of high yield savings account is for sinking funds. Sinking funds are different accounts for different saving goals. For example, some of them might be Christmas, it could be birthdays, it could be children's clothing, you could be saving up for a family reunion. These are typically accounts where you're putting money in each month and letting it accumulate so that you can use it later on after maybe you've reached some goal, or you want to dip into it throughout the year and just have money coming out of your budget every single month going into this sinking fund. Let's talk about another point that might be confusing to some people about high yield savings account. These accounts are not investing. High yield savings accounts are not an investment. The good thing is you're not investing in the market and you do have access to your money and it's growing, but like I said, the rate is not fixed. You're not taking on any risks to grow this money, so it's not gonna have these crazy amounts of return, but on the flip side, you have the safety of having your money being protected. Let's talk about another criteria that you should be looking for in any high yield savings account. These high yield savings accounts should have FDIC insurance. You want to make sure that your money is insured, money that you deposit in there is insured just in case something happens to the bank. They typically are, but it's something worthwhile and something worthwhile that is worth looking into while you're picking a good high yield savings account. Here's another point that you should consider. While I tell people you don't have to have the high yield savings account at the same place where you have your primary checking account, you should also take into consideration, is it important to you to have a physical location of the bank where you're gonna have this high yield savings account, or are you okay with totally online? Be aware that a lot of the high yield savings accounts advertised online are only online banks. They do not have a physical location. For a lot of people, this is not a big concern. If you deal with a lot of physical cash, or if you just want the comfort of having in-person customer service, then you might need a physical location. Another thing to consider about these online banks is hours and ease of customer service. Some online banks have really good customer service and they're open even on the weekends and the evenings, and some don't. And you might just want to look into this because it might make a difference at where you put your money in a high yield savings account. Another important thing to consider is transfer times. And like I mentioned, since you might not have your high yield savings account at the same bank where you have your primary checking account, you might want to look into how long does it take for the money to transfer over. This is very critical because in an emergency, when you might want to access the money in your fully funded emergency fund and it's in a high yield savings account, if it takes 5 business days for that money to move over to your primary checking account, it might be a make or break type of situation. Conclusion, is a high yield savings account the right account for you? I don't know, but if you want to earn more on your money while it's sitting safely in a bank account, accumulating, it's definitely worth considering. But think about your goals and your needs and this criteria I talked about, and be wise and informed while you are picking the perfect high yield savings account for you. If you have any questions or tips, please drop them in the comments. And thank you so much. Please like and subscribe for more financial content.